There's a Chinatown in damn near every major city. You got little Vietnam, little Cambodia, little Italy. Where's little Africa? You know why we ain't got it? Because something slavery did to the black man and woman. I don't care if your ancestors was enslaved in Cuba. I don't care if your ancestors was enslaved in Brazil, enslaved in North Philadelphia. Slavery stole from African people the natural, God-given desire to control your own destiny. And I want you young people to hear me, because you are the generation that is supposed to fix this.
You, what's going on, America and the rest of the world? Xander J. Hobson here, comedian, director and producer of boxing documentaries, and troll to those who need troll. This is another episode of The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. Folks, do me a favor, because I'm trying to grow the platform. Subscribe, like this video, share it, and by all means, leave a comment in the comments section, because I enjoy checking out the feedback from these videos that I make, as well as exchanging opinions and points of views with you all.
See, let me explain something to y'all. White people don't all get along. I know this because I work with them. Some Jews think they better than Italians. Some Italians think they better than the Irish. Some Irish think they better than the Greeks. Some Greeks think they're better than the Anglo-Saxons. But when it comes to doing what? Making sure white folks control the economics of the planet, they stop fighting long enough to keep Africa, and then they go back to fighting after they take care of the business of the white race.
So anyway, America and the rest of the world, if you're asking me, I think that Dr. Umar Johnson is probably one of the most polarizing figures to champion the black struggle. And what makes Dr. Umar Johnson stand out is he puts black people first. A lot of our so-called black leaders who have nominated themselves to these positions, they always want to group blacks in with everybody else. And often enough, you hear them saying black and brown people, blacks and members of the LGBTQ, blacks and women, blacks and cats and dogs. Now, I've been around for 57 years, and one of the things that I've noticed is this has never worked for us. Whenever blacks have hitched their horses to the wagons of other people's plight, we've always gotten the short end of the stick.
They're fighting hard to get birthright citizenship or automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. That's another way. It's automatic citizenship for children of illegal aliens. That's the other term that they use, which is actually more accurate, more understandable. And it's ridiculous. We're the only country that has it, and certainly the only country that has it to that extent. And it wasn't meant, if you look, it was really meant for children of slaves. This is when it happened. The children of slaves, it was not meant for everyone to come into our country by airplane or charging across the borders from all over the world and think they're going to become citizens. It's not meant for that. It wasn't meant for that. And hopefully at some point the courts will understand that without having to go through a whole big deal. This was meant for the children of slaves. And look at the timing of it and you'll see. And I hope judges will understand that.
President Trump recently pointed out that the 14th Amendment was initially drawn up to benefit the children of freed slaves. However, at some point, the 14th Amendment miraculously morphed into a bill that benefited the children of illegal aliens born in the United States. Dr. Umar Johnson is adamant about putting black people first. And for this reason, Dr. Umar Johnson should be supported and protected at all costs.
Pakistanis don't always get along with the Indians. They got issues, but when it comes to the best interests of the Indian people, they work it out. Iraqis don't necessarily like the Kuwaitis. The Kuwaitis don't necessarily like the Iranians. But guess what? When it comes to the best interests of the Arab people, they stop the petty beef until they take care of the business of the race. Chinese don't necessarily like Japanese, and Japanese don't necessarily like Cambodians, and Cambodians don't necessarily get along with the Vietnamese. But when it comes to the best interest of Asian people, they stop the fighting long enough to take care of the business of the Asian race. There's only one race on the planet who can't stop fighting long enough to get their act together, and that's us, African people. The most honorable Marcus Garvey said we were cursed with petty differences. If black people don't have a reason to fight, we'll make one up. Skin color, language, education, light skin, dark skin, Muslim, Christian, curly hair, straight hair, Spanish, English. And the white power structure laughing at all of us.
Preach.
Do you realize we're the only people not concerned about controlling our own community? We're the only people not concerned about controlling our own destiny. As soon as the Chinese show up on the shores of America, soon as an Arab shows up on the shores of America, soon as an East Indian shows up on the shores of America, they build in their own community. They're looking for a piece of the city to call their own shops, their own businesses, their own import, export, and all we want to do is look good. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't care if you're from Belize or the Bronx. You want to look good. Looking good is more important than having power. African people, we in pursuit of money. White people in pursuit of power.
Hear, hear.
Father Rothschild said, "What? Give me control over people's money. I care not who makes the laws." We chasing money. Money don't make a difference. Look at all the black entertainers we got. Look at all the athletes and entertainers we got. All that money. And don't use none of it for the benefit of African people. They might give out some turkeys for Thanksgiving. Who the hell need another turkey? You worth $500 million and the best you can do for the black community is some stale-ass turkeys. Some sneakers. Another playground dedication. That ain't what we need. We need institutions and industries, brothers and sisters. So number two, as Africa goes, so goes all African people. You will never be respected. I don't care where you move to in this world until Africa is respected.
You ain't lying there, Doc.
Because people always ask the question, why are we worrying about Africa? We got problems in New York City. Why am I worrying about Africa? I got problems in the Dominican Republic. What am I worrying about Africa for? I got problems in Venezuela. The black community in Colombia got problems. Panama blacks got big problems. We got Africans in Mexico, big problems. Why am I worrying about Africa for? 20,000 miles away. What good is that for me? You know why? Because as Africa goes, so goes all African people. I've been all over the world, brothers and sisters. And guess what I've learned? Wherever I go, European Jews are respected. Wherever I go, European Jews got power. You know why? Because Israel is respected and Israel got power. Wherever I go, Chinese are respected. Chinese are in an economic power position. Chinese are always upheld and treated with respect and reverence. You know why? Because China is powerful. Why do East Indians get respect around the world? Because India is powerful. And guess what? Wherever you go in the world, African people are disrespected and ignored, even in Africa. Let me ask you a question. Can you name a single black economy run by black people on the planet Earth? I'm going to ask you one more time. Can you name a single country, Africa, Central or South America, anywhere in the Caribbean, where we are in control of our own economics? Anybody? There's not one. There's not one. There is no black economy on earth ran by black people. And there is no liberation for African people until we get control of our economics. Black people in America, we're a $2 trillion economy. We're the richest group of Africans in the world in terms of income. The richest. But can I ask you a question? Do we own anything? Where is our infrastructure? Where are our institutions? We keep talking about Black Wall Street, but no city in America do I find African people owning their own hospital, their own bank, their own supermarket, and their own school. Those are the four essential institutions. Independent black hospital, independent black bank. You need a hospital to save the people, a bank to invest in the people, supermarket to feed the people, and a school to teach the people. Why we ain't got that? There's a Chinatown in damn near every major city. You got little Vietnam, little Cambodia, little Italy. Where's little Africa?
Now, you have a lot of people who will say that Dr. Umar Johnson is a scammer. He's a grifter. He's up to no good. Now, if you're asking me, this is not the case. I've been following Dr. Umar Johnson for a long time now. I've supported him. I've been out to a handful of his events. And the one thing I'll say, the man has integrity. Now, the one problem that I do have with Dr. Umar Johnson is I think that he's playing too many positions. He's the head coach. He's the quarterback. He's the running back. He's the water boy. And when you're trying to build something like a school for black kids to give them a certain mindset, you need people on your team that share your vision. Now, maybe Dr. Umar Johnson has an issue with trust. For example, he doesn't want to get in bed with the public school system and take their funds because some of the agendas that they're pushing through their curriculum, Dr. Umar Johnson isn't down with that. He has a private school that he wants privately funded so that he can be in charge of the curriculum. Now, personally, I think Dr. Umar Johnson needs to find those good sisters that he was looking for. In some cases, I heard him talking about he wanted 2 good sisters. But whether he marries these women or not, if his trust is with women, Dr. Umar Johnson needs to find him some solid sisters to help him reach his goal. That way he can stop being all over the place. Because Dr. Umar Johnson, he does the public speaking. Dr. Umar Johnson counsels people. And Dr. Umar Johnson is trying to get his school together. But what I've seen is he's trying to do all of this by himself. And you know what? When you undertake a task such as this, you can't do it by yourself. Dr. Umar Johnson needs someone to help him with the school. He needs someone to set up his speaking engagements. He needs someone to help him with his counseling sessions. So if you're asking me, the only critique that I personally could give Dr. Umar Johnson is he needs some help because, again, he is trying to play too many positions and he's doing too much. But other than that, I like what the man does and I like what he stands for.
When a European came into Africa, he had the Bible. We had all the resources. By the time he left, he controlled all the resources and we had the Bible. Napoleon Bonaparte said, religion is what keeps the poor man from killing the rich one. Because when you get into the religious conversations, and as Pan-Africanists, we don't take no issue with religion. We believe in freedom of worship. I don't care if you're a Hebrew. I don't care if you're a Christian. I don't care if you're a Seventh-day Adventist, a Jehovah's Witness, a Muslim. It makes no difference to me. Your religion is only my concern to the extent that it interferes with your ability to struggle for African liberation. If your Christianity does not stop you from struggling for African liberation, I have no issue with your Christianity. If your Islam does not stop you from struggling for African liberation, I have no issue with your Islam. If you being a Jehovah's Witness or a Methodist or an Episcopalian doesn't stop you from struggling for African liberation, I have no issue with you. But on the flip side, if you say you cannot struggle for African liberation because your God doesn't allow you to see color, we have a problem. I can't struggle with you. If you tell me you can't work with other African people because they haven't been saved, or they haven't taken their shahada, or they haven't undergone a particular religious experience, if you say you have to be of my own belief, In order for me to struggle with you, I have a problem because now your religion just became the enemy of African liberation. And let us be real clear. No weapon has been greater. No weapon has been used more against African people at home, which is Africa, and abroad in the diaspora than religion. It has been used to make us inferior. It has been used to brainwash us against who our true enemies are. It has been used to make us adopt a politically ridiculous, colorblind agenda. How can you afford to not see color when you've been victimized by your race your entire experience outside of the diaspora? Who benefits by African people not seeing color? Who benefits by you not putting African people first? Always ask yourself that question when somebody gives you any set of circumstances. Who benefits from this? I'm not against religion, but your religion must be an instrument of liberation or it is a waste of time. And if I'm going to be plainly honest with you, there's no religion on the face of the earth that serves African liberation. And you cannot be a Pan-Africanist if you still got that white Jesus hanging up in your house, in your dorm room, in your car, or in your Bible. Because before we can liberate ourselves politically, before we can liberate ourselves economically, before we can liberate ourselves socially, before we can liberate ourselves culturally, we have to liberate ourselves psychologically. I want you to hear me well, Puerto Rican Africans. I want you to hear me well, American Africans. I want you to hear me well, all my Latino Africans, my continental Africans, my American Africans. There is no liberation for our race that does not begin with psychological liberation until you change the way that you think about yourself, your people, and your future. Until you change the way that you think about who we are, and what we must become, you change nothing else about us. Reparations is a hot topic right now, ain't it? Everybody's talking about reparations this like it's some new thing. Reparations grew out of the Pan-Africanist movement. It was Pan-Africanism that gave birth to reparations, not YouTube or the YouTube opportunists. It was Pan-Africanists who gave birth to reparations. But guess what? The U.S. government can give us $1 trillion. The Italian government, the German government, the Belgian government, they can give us $1 trillion. But guess what? Without psychological liberation, I don't care how much money you get from the outside, until you change the dynamic in the inside, nothing else will change. That's why the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who gave us the red, black, and green flag and the largest black movement in modern history, Mr. Garvey said, "Don't take the kinks out of your hair, black sister, take the kinks out of your mind." Because we cannot expect little black girls to grow up with pride while adult black women imitate Caucasians. The one thing you belong to, chosen by God, fixed at birth, that you have no control over, and that is your Africanity. And that's why we identify as African family first. Everything else you belong to, you chose or your parents chose. You Christian, you love your religion, nothing wrong with that. But you could leave the church tomorrow. You Muslim, you love your religion, nothing wrong with that. You can leave the mosque tomorrow. Your fraternities, your sororities, you can leave them tomorrow. Your professional affiliations, you can leave them tomorrow. Your nationality, you can denounce it tomorrow. Your language, you can change it tomorrow. I'm giving you this because too many people walking around call themselves Pan-Africanists who really are not. If you don't put the race first, you are not a Pan-Africanist. Pan-Africanism means all of us are one. So that means if you like to practice petty tribalism, if you like to put the American African above the Caribbean African, if you think you better because you from America and somebody else is from Australia, that's not Pan-Africanism. You think you better because you light skinned and somebody dark, that's not Pan-Africanism. You think you better because you belong to this religion and they belong to that religion, or your hair is straight and their hair is curly. Any tribalism in your blood prevents you from being a Pan-Africanist. That's a hypocrite. And let me say this, we are not racist. I want white people to get all the blessings God has in store for them. I want red people to get all the blessings God got in store for them. I want yellow people to get all the blessings God got in store for them. I want non-African brown people to get all the blessings God has in store for them. We are not interested in oppressing nobody, but we claim the continent of Africa for ourselves. And nobody in Africa who is not an African can be called so. If you are in Africa and you are not an African, you are either an invader, a colonizer, or the descendant of one. No Chinese can call himself African. I can't go to China and call myself Chinese. So why can he come in Africa and call himself an African? No East Indian can call himself African. I can't go to East India and call myself an Indian. No Arab can call himself African. Why? Because Africa is the land of black African people. And let us be clear. The only reason why the other human races want to come into Africa and claim that they're African too is so they receive no opposition as they go about the continent pillaging resources and stealing the mineral wealth of Mother Africa. Let us be very clear about that. I've been to China. China is very racist against African people. Very racist against African people. But yet they'll come into Africa and say, I'm an African. No, you're not. You are an opportunist. You have to learn how to think deeply and politically, because to be a Pan-Africanist, you have to be what? A statesman, a stateswoman for the African race. Yes, you should be involved in the politics of New York if you're a New Yorker. Yes, you should be involved in the politics of Texas if you are a Texan. Yes, you should be involved in the politics of California if you're a Californian. Yes, you should be involved in the politics of Puerto Rico if you're a Puerto Rican. Yes, you should be involved in the politics of Haiti if you're Haitian. But on top of your national loyalty must be your racial consciousness.
Spot on, Doc. So with that said, folks, I'm done with it. Bam!